Welcome back to the Urban Farmyard, where the city girl goes country. In today's video, we are taking a look at how the coronavirus is impacting us here at the animal shelter and the rescue centre. Let's take a look. Well, aren't these crazy times that we are going through right now? It feels a lot like the zombie apocalypse has just hit globally. I have just come back from doing a quick trip to the pharmacy for a script that I couldn't get earlier in the week, and the roads are just dead. There's no one around. It's really eerie. It's quite odd. Aside from that, here at the rescue centre, things are feeling reasonably normal. I live out here at the sanctuary on a 2-hectare property, and I'm still surrounded by animals, all my animals. There are many of them. And life is just kind of going on as normal to some extent, but the coronavirus has had an impact on the way that we operate the rescue centre in particular. Now, our rescue centre primarily takes in cats and kittens. So in the lead up to New Zealand going into lockdown, we followed the SPCA's advice and followed what they were doing because they are the biggest animal rescue in the country. What we did is we immediately, when it looked like we were about to go into lockdown, we immediately put a hold on open adoption days for the safety of the people who are coming to adopt. Instead, we switched to adoptions by appointment for a number of days leading up to the lockdown. The reason why we did that rather than just shutting everything down immediately is the welfare of our animals is really important, and we had quite a large number of cats and kittens who were able to go into families rather than staying here and in some cases having to be confined to a cage for as long as our quarantine period lasts. So we made the call that it was best to minimise risk but still allow as many cats and kittens as possible to go into their new homes. So the last few days for us going into lockdown, so I'm filming this on day 1 of the lockdown in New Zealand, the last few days have been really busy. We've been booked completely solid. We had 1 appointment slot per person, so we only had 1 person at a time coming into the rescue centre, and we were sanitising, disinfecting everything as each person left, again to keep everyone protected. The great news is we adopted out a lot of adult cats, which is amazing, and we also adopted out all but 2 of the healthy, friendly kittens that we had available, which is really exciting. So the rescue centre is looking pretty light at the moment in terms of numbers. We have around 30 adult cats still here. They're not confined to cages, they're in the catteries, they've got space to play. And we have about 10 or 12 kittens. Those kittens that are remaining are the ones that were sick and on medication, or are little wildlings that we are still working to socialise. And there's an upcoming video that I am about to film on how we socialise and tame our little wildlings. So that's really exciting, and our goal basically is to get the sick kittens and the wildlings to a point that they are fit, healthy and friendly enough to be adopted once we come out of level 4 lockdown. Who knows when that will be. In New Zealand, they have put us on lockdown for 4 weeks. In reality, I suspect it will probably be longer than that. I suspect that the government is easing us into the idea of being at home on our own, or with our husbands and children or immediate family, so who knows. So we've got some time to get these guys back up and running. We have also had to make changes to our volunteers. So we have volunteers who come through each day in 2 different shifts. So in the morning we have our cleaning volunteers. So every day our rescue centre goes from being immaculate to it looking like a cyclone has just hit. I can't believe the amount of filth the animals kick up throughout the evening. Litter trays are always full. The floor goes from freshly swept and cleaned to carnage, and so we have a gorgeous group of volunteers who come through each morning and they clean for us. Usually they team up in pairs of 2, but what we've had to do is we have had to cut that back. Well, we haven't had to cut it back, but we've chosen to cut it back, so we now only have 1 volunteer each day, again so that they're not in close proximity to other people. So what we've done is just juggled the volunteers that we have available, so that we've got 1 person coming in each day. We have lost a number of volunteers because we have some gorgeous retired ladies who are over the age of 70, and the government has recommended that they stay at home, so they're not coming in. We also have a number of people who are immune compromised, and so again it's best that they don't come in. So 1 volunteer a day. I am incredibly grateful that we are still able to have volunteers come in each day. Animal welfare organisations are considered an essential service in New Zealand, largely because we have to keep animals alive. It is essential that we keep them fed and watered and living in hygienic environments. So for that reason we are registered with the Ministry of Primary Industries, and we are able to continue to operate, but it is definitely on a skeleton staff. Usually we'd then have a second shift of people coming through, and they are the people we call our cat tamers, and they are typically either mad cat lovers like myself, or a lot of them are school children. It's a gorgeous little flood of school uniforms when school closes each day, but we have put a hold on that at the moment as well. Basically what we're doing is just removing any risk, we're removing as much risk as possible and trying to get people to stay at home as much as possible while still continuing to operate here. So that's it on the volunteer front. Probably the biggest impact on us has really been the availability of food and kitty litter which we can get delivered. Up until now, all of our kitty litter has come from our local supermarket who deliver to us. We are an hour's drive from the closest supermarket, so rather than going to the shops, I tend to get everything delivered. That had worked really well, and our supermarket knows me because I'm the only one who orders 15 bags of kitty litter at a time. But because people have been panic buying, the grocery stores have now imposed a 2-item limit on pretty much everything except for produce, and I was horrified to discover that that 2-item limit applies to kitty litter as well. They did allow 1 delivery to come into us, which we were so grateful for, but 2 bags of kitty litter per order just wasn't going to cut it for us, unfortunately. We go through about 40 kilos of it a week. So we did get 1 last delivery in, which is fantastic. That's not going to last very long though. So what I was able to do before we went into lockdown is I went to a hardware store that supplies wood burner pellets, and I ordered I think 150 kilos of wood burner pellets from memory, something like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use those instead. Now, wood burner pellets are actually a really good form of kitty litter. We don't compost them because there's often a lot of worms and germs in our kitty litter, but they do degrade. So while we do send them to landfill, they do just break down because they're just compressed pine sawdust. So yeah, sawdust from pine trees or pine milling. I will show you how we use them. They're a great product. What happens is when the cats pee on them, they actually break down, so they go from pellet form to sawdust. So they do work really well. The one challenge we do have with them is with the number of cats that we have using our kitty litter trays, we do get quite a lot of sawdust traipsed around. But you know what? We can cope with that for the next 4 weeks or a few months or however long this lasts. So that's not the end of the world. Fortunately, we had a huge food delivery about a month ago. An organisation named Poor Justice, who run a food bank for rescued animals, delivered a full pallet of adult cat food to us, which is amazing. So we have plenty of adult food, and we have placed an order for kitten food to come through, so that's the one thing that we didn't have. Fortunately, anyone who is in the business of pet food supply is able to continue operating. So the company that we use to deliver pet food in, a company called Pet Direct, is still operating, so we can still get kitten food in, which is amazing. They are also able to supply us with basic pharmaceuticals, so nothing prescribed by a vet per se, but we can still get things like worm treatment and flea treatment from them as well, which is great. The one thing which we do look like we are going to run out of is antibiotics, which we absolutely need for the little ones that are sick. So what we're going to do is we've got a friendly vet in Auckland, which is New Zealand's biggest city, and they are able to continue to operate. Again, vets are considered an essential service. What I can't do though is travel 2 hours to Auckland in order to go and pick up meds. So what we're going to do is an over the phone order and payment and get them to put them in the mail. So again, mail services are an essential service and they're continuing to operate. So all in all, we're pretty well set. We have had a water crisis here recently as well. We're at the tail end of summer, and here we are, we went through 86 days without substantial rain. That was creating havoc because we do a lot of washing of bedding and towels and cleaning cloths and things like that from the rescue centre, and we ran out of tank water twice in 2 weeks, which was just a nightmare. Fortunately, it has started raining and our tanks are starting to refill again, which is great. So the tank by the rescue centre, which is only a 1,000 litre tank, is now up and running again. So we're not at risk of running out there, and I'm keeping a close eye on the tank down by the house, which is where we run the washing machine from. But hopefully that will all be okay as well. So aside from that, the other animals, it's basically business as usual. We have ponies, alpacas, goats and sheep here as well. They are basically self-sufficient, so they eat from the land, so they eat grass and foliage on the land, and they drink from the gorgeous little river that runs through our property, so they're basically fine. And then aside from that, it's basically my cats and dogs and the chickens, which we are just ordering standard food for, so nothing's really changed there. The quantities that we are ordering we can still get, so it's all good. So we're just hunkering down here. The other thing we've added in for our volunteers is basic protective equipment. So hand sanitizer is available. Some of them are bringing masks in, but they're not all choosing to do so. And we also have disposable gloves available to them as well. So it's all pretty simple, really. We're looking forward to being up and running properly again and able to adopt out the cats and kittens that we do have here. But look, we're absolutely fine in the interim. I am feeling incredibly lucky to be quarantined here at the sanctuary. We've basically got our own dog park where I can go roaming with my animals, and I'm feeling very, very lucky that I can still have one volunteer a day come in, so I don't have to do all of the animal husbandry myself. So that's us. I hope you guys are all doing really well. I hope you're coping okay in your quarantine, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Take care. Bye.